What is going on, everybody? I am Brett Popish, and this is Defiant. I'm joined today by a guy that I just met, a week and a half ago?
Yes, sir.
And I got to tell you, I wish I would have met him. I wish I would have met you a long time ago, but at minimum 2 weeks before we did, because we're recording this podcast episode on November 17th, I think it is. 17th, 18th, something like
17th.
that. Okay. And this is like a week late. Because I would love to have had this out for Veterans Day. But I'm joined today with Deke Letson with Veterans Exploration Therapy. Deke, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, Brett?
Man, I'm doing good. So for the listeners out there, Deke and I met at kind of an event on a couple Tuesdays ago and got to talking. I was admiring his service dog, Red. I'm kind of disappointed you didn't bring Red, honestly, just because he's such a cool, chill dog. But we got to talking. Deke started sharing with me his story. I then got invited by Deke to an event you had this past week, a fundraising event for veterans going through your program. And it really inspired me. I wanted to get the message out to what it is you guys do, the services you guys bring to the veteran community, suffering with PTSD, things like that. So welcome today. But let's start off, talk a little bit about kind of your background, and then we'll just let the conversation flow to get the message out about Veterans Exploration Therapy.
Yeah, absolutely. And, first of all, I just wanted to thank you so much for having me on and this opportunity to get out and talk about our organization. And, I'm myself. I'm a U.S. Army combat veteran. I spent 10 years in the Army. I joined in 2003 as a petroleum supply specialist. Had no clue about anything in the military, and I ended up getting deployed over to Iraq and Kuwait in 2006, and then I did another deployment in 2008 as on a PSD team for a 1-star and a 2-star general.
Oh wow.
Ended up getting out of the Army in 2012, and honestly, it was because I started having some problems. I had some drinking problems.
Okay.
I found myself coping with alcohol, and I ended up getting in some trouble with the law, and it was time to re-enlist or not re-enlist, and I chose not to re-enlist, and I got out in 2012. And actually, just to tell you way too much about myself, I really started dealing with some personal problems. I was drinking every day. I was drinking 12 beer, a 12-pack a night, with some shots. And I was becoming a horrible father. I was hitting rock bottom. I ended up getting a divorce from my wife. I've got 3 kids, and ended up having to go through that whole process, and just getting caught in the court system, and it was a nightmare. And I thought that I was coping by drinking, but I was really just making things worse. Now after the fact, hindsight is 2020.
Sure.
You can't really cope with depression with a depressant.
Right. But the thing is, a lot of people do that, and it's more common than not that people do that, because you're looking for some kind of relief wherever you can get it.
That's
right?
it.
Kind of numbing or whatever that looks like in your world. Now, going back when you enlisted originally in 2003, was there kind of a reason you decided to enlist? I guess your age, were you right out of high school? Or what prompted you to have the calling to go serve your country?
It was 2003. 9/11 happened in 2001. I was 21 years old at the time, and honestly, I sat there and watched a bunch of young men and women go fight in Afghanistan. And my grandfather was a U.S. Navy veteran in World War II, and I remembered he answered the call when Pearl Harbor happened. Mm-hmm. And when the country's in need, and honestly, I felt like I sat on the sideline for too long after 9/11, waiting 2 years to enlist.
Sure.
And so, it was time to go do my part.
Gotcha. What was it when you joined the military that you liked the most when you first got into it? Because I'm assuming, like, once you probably get out of basic training, like basic training is probably a bitch, right? But then once you get out of basic training, it's you probably enjoy whatever job you're in, right? So what did you enjoy the most about being in the military
I enjoyed the camaraderie. I enjoyed
with all the guys and
absolutely
the women?
with all your brothers and sisters right next to you. I met I met some of the stupidest people I've ever met in my life. But on the flip,
That's in any walk of life. That's in any profession, any walk of life, man.
right, right. But on the flip side of it, I met some of the most amazing people that you could ever dream of. People
Mhm.
that will literally lay down their life for you, and
And they do,
and they do.
and they have.
Absolutely. People forget that the price of freedom isn't paid for in money. It's paid for in the price of blood.
If it isn't paid for in the price of blood, it's paid for when you come home and you're dealing with some of the after effects that you talked about.
Well, and I think
And that's what, time out, sorry to interrupt you, but that's what I think a lot of people miss,
absolutely.
especially the Veterans Administration. I know the Veterans Administration can do whatever they can with the bureaucracy and everything, and I don't want to demonize them, but there's a big piece missing, I think, when it comes to veteran health, mental health, because it's unseen.
1,000,000%. And you just said it right there, being unseen,
Right.
these invisible wounds. I look perfectly normal to anybody just looking at me.
Mhm.
I normally have a service dog with me. I just didn't want him to shed all over your beautiful house more than anything.
Right.
He's a golden retriever. But people look at you and sit there and say, "Hey, why can't you keep up with the rest of everybody else? Why can't you keep up with life?" And it's because you suffer from these traumas. I was lucky enough to be invited to a wonderful place in January of 2020 called the Marcus Institute for Brain Health, and they found out that they realized that I had been being treated for PTSD, but I had never been treated for a TBI, for any of the blasts that I had been around or anything like that.
TBI. Explain exactly what TBI is.
A traumatic brain injury,
Okay.
getting knocked out, having your brain rattle around inside your head,
From
having
the
some sort of
concussions of the blast.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And so a lot of the times these symptoms overlap with PTSD. And so I had only been being treated for one of them. However, I was still showing symptoms. Well, finally, it took one of my therapists. There was an episode that happened. A lot of times with PTSD, as much as I hate it, it comes out as frustration and anger a lot of times because your brain just can't process what's going on. And so there was an incident. And I was telling my therapist about it, and she said, "Hey, have you ever been treated for a brain injury?" And I was like, "No." She was like, "Well, were you ever around one?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. I had some blasts go off next to me. And then, not only that, just combatives that we did in the military and
Sure.
beating the crap out of each other while we're drunk and, just all the other stupid stuff that comes along with
Right.
being a Joe." But she said, "Hey, call this place. Will you please call this place?" And she gave me the phone number to the Marcus Institute for Brain Health at CU Anschutz.
Okay.
And I went in and I did an interview with them, and they said, "Hey, would you come in and do our 3-day a 3-day interview with us to see if you would qualify for our 21-day intensive outpatient program?"
Oh, wow.
I did that, and they said, "Absolutely, you qualify. Would you come in and would you come in to our 21-day intensive outpatient program?" I did, and so they can't fix the neurotransmitters that were broken in the blasts and from the concussions and everything. They found out that the left side of my brain wasn't communicating with the right side of my brain.
Okay.
So they can't fix the broken neurotransmitters, but what they can do is create new ones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's absolutely life changing, and even the questions on their questionnaires were eye opening. They'd ask stuff like, "Are you an impulse buyer?" And it's like, Yeah.
Who isn't?
Right. Right.
I mean, really, who is not an impulse buyer, right?
Heck yeah. No kidding. But yeah, apparently that's a sign of traumatic brain injury. That's a symptom of them.
Okay.
And so there's a handful of these. And, I found out personally, when I started having episodes of PTSD and I started having flashbacks and I didn't know what was going on. Honestly, I thought I was the biggest freak in the world. I couldn't get them to stop. And honestly, like that's why I know why veterans try to commit suicide or do commit suicide because they literally can't get it to stop.
Well, and is it safe to say too that when you're dealing with this type of thing, you have this severe loneliness because you think that this is only happening to you, right?
Oh, 1,000,000%.
Like I've never dealt with that, but I can only imagine that in your mind, you're probably thinking there's something wrong with me. I'm the only one dealing with this. So you become somewhat of a recluse in that you don't want to go around people because you don't want to feel like you are insane.
Well, and not only that, like, what happened to me is I went to Panama for a wedding and in 2017, and I didn't realize it, but it threw me into having flashbacks. They called it delayed onset PTSD. I thought that I was perfectly fine. I mean, I realized that I drank too much beforehand, but I didn't realize that there was anything going on. And then all of a sudden, this hit me like a ton of bricks. And I mean, like it was to the point where I'm a grown ass man and I'm crying like a little, like a little girl curled up in my bed or can't get off the couch every day because I couldn't get off the couch. I don't know why I was crying. I don't know why I was
severe depression.
That's it right there.
Right.
That's it right there. And you think it won't happen to you. And honestly, I thought that for the longest time, I thought people used PTSD as a vice. I didn't think it was real. I thought that.
Did you think it was kind of a crutch that people used as a means to not have to like do certain things or,
absolutely.
Some people claim PTSD as a means to create like a victim mentality.
Absolutely. And and no, it hit me like a ton of bricks. It hit me like an absolute ton of bricks. I ended up, I started drinking again. I ended up, and then I ended up getting a DUI in February 7th of 2018.
Gotcha.
I ended up losing my job. I had a great job. I was running the security program for the federal police in the state of Colorado and, making a decent living doing it. Then all of a sudden, I just got a DUI. I just got in trouble with the law. Now I'm going through the legal system, and I don't know if anybody's ever been through that system, but
it's costly.
It's costly, and it's
very
not
costly,
fun whatsoever.
Right.
You have a bunch of honor because you're a soldier. You served in the military, and now all of a sudden you're being treated like a prisoner.
Well, and you bring up something too that I think a lot of, and you tell me if I'm wrong, because I'm looking at this from the outside in, but I think a lot of veterans, because you were a soldier, because you have that pride of serving your country, because you have the pride of doing what you do to become a soldier, you don't necessarily want to bring up or mention to people the struggles you're going through because you have that pride. You're like, I'm better than this. Like, I shouldn't be dealing with this. So you kind of mask it and hide it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Honestly, what I just told you about getting the DUI right there, I still haven't told some of my closest friends about. I've kept that hidden for the past 6 years. Because I'm embarrassed about it. I'm embarrassed to this day about it.
Sure.
But I guess that's how we grow and we move on too. We stand up and raise our hand and say, I was wrong. I messed up. It's not always about how hard you fall. It's about how you get back up and keep fighting.
Right. So then in the service, I'm going to backtrack for a moment.
Yeah.
When you were deployed, what parts of Iraq were you serving in, just to give our listeners kind of an idea of where you were at?
Baghdad.
In Baghdad proper.
Yeah, Baghdad. And we were I was on a PSD team for a 1-star and a 2-star general, and so we were taking him wherever he needed to be around the Baghdad area. So it was a great job. We got to do some awesome missions and stuff like that. But on the flip side of it, being with general officers, there was always some nice food being around too. So there were some perks.
Gotcha. Now, you'd mentioned when you got out, you went to the medical institute. They figured out more brain injury type stuff. What was it was there kind of a turning point that, one individual or somebody that was able to connect you with the right medication, the right therapy? Like, what was it that kind of turned you around to where you're at today? Because there had to be a fucking turning point that got you to where you're at today.
It's 1,000,000%. And I'm so glad that you asked that question, because the Marcus Institute was the first place. Well, because the way that the VA treats you and the way that for PTSD or anything. And so there were a lot of issues. And actually, this is exactly like what led me to my organization and everything. Because first of all, the VA, they just want to give you a pill. That's all they want to do. They actually prescribe more prescription medication than any other medical institution in the world.
Seriously?
Yep.
So,
seriously.
are you talking like SSRIs, Prozac, Xanax?
I'm talking everything. And what happens is they sit there and say, oh, hey, try this pill. And then there's all kinds of side effects that come along with it, because, you're dealing, when it comes to wartime mental health issues, you're dealing with the worst of the worst,
Yeah. And the way I probably, and again, I've never served, but I could only imagine you're dealing with the most evil shit you can possibly imagine.
Absolutely.
The most evil shit imaginable. And I'm not going to have you go into any of that. But for people out there that, might not have an idea, read some books that are written by military veterans and some of the stuff that they want to dive into. And it's tough to read in a lot of ways.
Turn on the news footage for what's going on today in a couple different countries around the world right now. Those people are dealing with that firsthand.
Right.
There's somebody that's actually having to run around and, fight these wars.
Absolutely. So back to the question. What was the turning point? Sorry, I had interrupted you there, but
no, you're fine. No, the turning point was the Marcus Institute, because these people were the first people that said, hey, there are other things. You don't have to take a pill for the rest of your life. That's one of the things about the VA. They say, okay, take this pill. And if this one doesn't work, come back and we'll put you on another one. And if that one doesn't work, come back and we'll put you on another one.
All the side effects.
All the side effects. And then you're taking pills to counteract the side effects of the side effects. And then you can't just quit these medications cold turkey, because, you have to wean yourself off of them. And if you do quit them cold turkey, they can actually throw you into a mental health emergency.
Yes.
And so, and I mean, with a TBI, a traumatic brain injury, people forget things. So you can forget to take your pills, and all of a sudden you're being thrown into it. Well, the Marcus Institute, they taught us, hey, first of all, you need to worry about self-care. You need to take care of yourself before you take care of anybody else. All of us veterans, we want to take care of our family members, our friends. We want to take care of everybody.
Because you guys are givers.
Exactly.
You all are givers, looking out for everybody else. And it's easy to forget about yourself because you're so focused on everybody else.
That's it right there. And they taught us, hey, you have to take care of yourself. You actually have to be a little bit selfish before you can take care of anybody else.
Yep.
And it starts with self-care, and it starts with, yoga. It starts with art therapy. They opened our eyes to equine therapy, Tai Chi, every day. There was something new, there was another way, but really all it took was you taking the time out of your day to breathing. Breathing is one of the stupidest, simplest things that we can all do.
Right.
And all you have to do is and there's no politics behind it. You're not going to turn into somebody you're not. You're literally just slowing down. and you're just taking a breath and you're finding your breath, and we're finding that it completely affects your sympathetic nervous system. You're
Mhm.
tapping into it and you can actually start calming down.
Right.
And a lot of the problem with that though is it doesn't make any money for the pill manufacturers
Of
though.
course not. Of
So
course not. The natural remedies that have been around for hundreds of thousands of years of humanity are no longer any good because Big Pharma and Pfizer have a solution to fix all ailments
that's
rather
it.
than sleep, breathing, kind of basic stuff, right? Drinking water, kind of your normal healthy living stuff.
Right,
Right.
right. Exactly. I just saw a study the other day that, a ridiculous amount of kindergarten kids are taking melanoma now to fall asleep. And
That
it's
is
like,
so unfortunate.
right? It's like, hey,
It's because the parents got them jacked up on Adderall for their quote unquote ADD.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's like, hey, no, maybe we just need to slow down,
Mhm.
quit believing everything that our phone is telling us, start getting back to these interpersonal connections that we no longer have.
Right.
I started noticing like my family, we'd go out to dinner and everybody would be sitting there texting on their phone opposed to
Having a conversation.
having a conversation at the
Right.
dinner table.
Right. Right.
And sometimes it's just those little things in life that you need to do to take
Mhm.
care of yourself, to be here in the now.
Right. Now, let me ask you, did you develop or did they recommend you develop any kind of daily routine to kind of calm yourself down, center yourself? Maybe that's exercise. You obviously have read your lab. But aside from red, is there any other kind of daily routines that you've developed that you find that helps you kind of get to an even state, whether that be exercise, walking, reading, whatever that might look like?
Well, and yes, 1,000,000%. And so one of the things that they kept showing us was all these different ways to do it, more
Mhm.
so that you could find the one that you like and
Sure.
put that in your tool belt and then do that one every day.
Gotcha.
Like me personally, after doing PT for 10 years in the army, like I'm horribly allergic to running. I hate doing it. I break out in the sweats. I start breathing real hard. It's horrible.
Right. Yeah.
But I can go for a hike and I can get my exercise in there. I can go rock climbing. And that's kind of where I formed my organization.
Mhm.
Well, one of the reasons I did is, an alternative way to,
Sure.
use adventure as a catalyst to get people off the couch, to get them to quit believing everything that their phone is telling them, and to get around other veterans that are
Well, and on that
doing
note, man,
good
the
things.
phone can be it can be a toxic device. And I say that because with social media specifically, you and I were talking before we got on the recording, and we were talking about some stuff that happened this week. I don't want to get into it, but when you get on social media and that's all you see, right? And then you start going down that black hole of just bullshit on any given day on Twitter, Instagram, whatever that is, man, that if you're already dealing with things, that's going to just compound that. I mean, you got people that have never served that have massive depression issues just from fucking social media, let alone somebody that served like yourself that ends up getting on an app to first people get on these apps to just keep up with the news and friends. And then these damn algorithms suck you in and they start feeding you shit that they see that you're sticking on. And it can create a downward spiral. And I'm sure that's even worse for veterans.
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. And, one of the things that we don't realize when we get so upset about these things, because you're 1,000,000%, it's a black hole, and not only that, they found that, anger sucks you in, anger, you know, they don't,
Anger and fear.
yeah,
It's anger and
yeah.
fear because if we think about what happened going back just in 2020 to 2021, the news, every news channel was fear and then anger to sell a pharmaceutical.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like that's what we're trying to completely get away from
Hmm.
is we're trying to um, you know, uh, well, because just exactly what you're saying. or excuse me, going back to what I was saying, when you're getting all upset about what's going on with your phone and everything that's going on in the real world and everything, the only real person that that's affecting is you. No matter how upset you get, no matter how pissed off you get, no matter any of that stuff, the only person that that affects is you inside. And so, me personally, like I just try to put that down. I just try to
Hmm.
get outside. I try to live in the now. I try to,
Right.
and that's what we're trying to do with other veterans is to, get them off the couch, get them to quit self-isolating, using adventure as a catalyst to ultimately, you know, get other veterans around other veterans who are going through the same things, finding what works for other veterans, ultimately showing them that there's a reason to, doing something rad, taking them out and going skydiving and,
Right.
you know, saying, hey, look, I'll tell you what, you don't have to put a pill in your body to get high. I'll show you how to, let's jump out of this airplane.
Get some
right here."
adrenaline.
Exactly. I promise you, you will reach a high that you have never gotten with any other drug before.
Right.
But then on the flip side of that, too, we also have some awesome resources that we work with in the community that aren't necessarily the VA that we can get these guys to, specifically like the Marcus Institute for Brain Health,
Mhm.
the Jefferson Center. We have other nonprofits that we work with because if adventure's not your thing, hey, is farming your thing? Veterans to Farmers is an amazing veteran program.
That is awesome.
And yeah, there's so many great veteran nonprofits out there.
Mhm.
And, I always just tell people, hey, you don't have to, go on a hike. You don't have to go skydiving. Maybe your jam is playing the piano. Well, cool. There's music therapy. You got to do something. You can't just sit here and self-isolate and not do anything. You have to go out and do something. And we
Right.
want to, at the minimum, point you in the right direction.
Now, Deke, let me ask you. So you went through your recovery, lack of a better term, through your process. What prompted you to starting veterans exploration therapy? Did you meet somebody that kind of said, "Hey, let's start this," or was this kind of a passion project for you that said, "You know what, I was able to kind of get through the shit, in doing this way"? How did you create that organization?
Okay.
So for everybody listening though, this is a full blown 501c3. This is a straight up nonprofit for veterans to help veterans get out, get connected that are struggling with issues.
Sure.
So talk to us how you developed this platform.
Okay, so it starts February 7th, 2018. I woke up in a jail cell. I had just gotten a DUI the night before. So I guess technically the DUI was on February 6th, but I woke up in a jail cell December 7th. I lost my job. I had nowhere to go. I walked into Red Rocks Community College with I had my GI Bill. I was 16 when I dropped out of high school too, so I was scared to death walking into college because I dropped out of high school.
Right.
I'm not. I wasn't educated whatsoever, and now all of a sudden I'm going to go to college. How the hell am I going to do this? I walked into the Veteran Service Office, and they said, "Well, what do you like to do?" And I thought I was going to have to be like an accountant or something horrible.
Sit at the desk. Sit at the desk 8 hours a day. And yeah, no, you don't want to do that.
Sorry to all the accountants out there and everything, but some
Not
things
your
are just
jam.
not for others. No,
That's
not
right.
not at all.
That's right.
They said, well, what do you like to do? And I said, I love the outdoors. And they said, you want to be an outdoor guide? I was like, heck yeah, I want to be an outdoor guide. So they said, sweet, we've got we've got a outdoor adventure program where you can learn to be an outdoor guide professionally.
Oh, that's cool.
They also had a wilderness therapy program, which I didn't even know there was wilderness therapy. And then so it was, so fast forward to January of 2020, I was invited to the Marcus Institute for Brain Health. They sent me through their 21-day intensive outpatient program to really learn how to relive my life with the injuries that I, sustained. And then the internal injuries, the invisible injuries that I sustained. And then actually, so I completely fell into this by accident. This is all of my classes right before the school semester canceled. And the only
And that was because of COVID, I assume, right?
it
Yeah.
was because of COVID, and they had all canceled. I needed the GI Bill. They pay you to go to school. They give you a basic housing allowance to go to school. So I needed that. I've got 3 kids. And so the only program that I could get into, the only certificate that I could do, because my classes had all just canceled, was a small business entrepreneurship class for the outdoor industry. And so I signed up for it a week before it started. And day one of the class, they made you make a fake business. So I had just gone through the Marcus Institute, where they just taught us how to relive our life. They said, all right, make a fake business. So I made Veterans Exploration Therapy. And
So you made your fake business, but it ended up being the business that we're talking about today.
it 1,000,000%
Man,
is.
that's awesome. That's awesome, bro.
I started getting pulled aside by the instructors saying, hey, man, like, you've got something here. Like, you absolutely need to do this. And, it was like, whatever, this is a school project. This isn't going anywhere. As soon as I get this certificate, I'm going to get out and, go in the real world and go work in the outdoors. And, that's not going to happen whatsoever. But so they make you make a business plan. They make you do strategic planning. They make you, they teach you how to go through and get all the business filings and everything like that. And so after my 4th or 5th instructor pulled me aside through this program and said, you need to do this, I started taking it seriously. And I started just one at a time, just saying, hey, what if? And so I started getting the business filings. So I actually called the Colorado Nonprofit Association and said, hey, well, all right, I've got an idea. How do you get going off the ground? And this lady, you can tell that she gets this phone call 1,000 times a day, because you could just hear her sigh as soon as I said, hey, I've got a great idea for a nonprofit. And she goes, hey, this is a lot of work. This isn't what you think it is, and what she doesn't know is everything that I had just gone through the past, well, hell, since 2018 to get to even making this phone call. And so she's going through her list of, hey, this is a big thing. You don't just wake up and start a nonprofit. And I had to interrupt her. And I was like, hey, ma'am, I've tried to quit this in every way, shape, or form that I can. I've tried to tell myself that I can't do it. I've tried to make every excuse in the book for why I can't do it. I've tried to go out and get a job. I've gone out and gotten a job, but then, and I always thought that those people who said that the universe told me to do something were absolutely batshit crazy, until every time that I've tried to quit it, or every excuse that I've tried to make, the universe literally drew me right back into it and said, opened another door and said, told me, hey, you need to do this. You're going to help a lot of people here. And so,
So that's that.
Yeah. And so I just started one business filing at a time, going out and getting the name, going out and
Is it hard to get the 501c3 designation?
Honestly, yes, it was a lot of work. You start with the federal government, and then you go to the Secretary of State, and of course you got to have your bylaws, and you've got to have a whole slew of stuff,
all the legal
absolutely
stuff.
You have to have all the legal stuff, and everything like that. However, I had just learned how to do all of it in school, and so I always sat there and wondered, hey, how do people even learn how to do this? Well, yeah, there's this thing called school, and they teach you how to do it, everything you need. And
so talk to us about Veterans Exploration Therapy. So what type of things, and I want to get into in a little bit, how you attract the veterans to come work with you and do your program, but what type of adventures? What type of fun things are you guys doing? And how do you come up with the ideas of different things to do? Because it's not the same. From the video I saw the other day, it's not the same thing every time around. It's different shit every time you go out. So how'd you develop that part of it?
Well, you see a lot of nonprofits out there, and don't get me wrong, not talking bad about any of them, but they'll focus in on one thing, like fishing or hunting or something like that. And, if that's not your jam, then, well, you're never going to go do it. And so what we're doing as an organization is we're focusing in on whatever it takes to get you outdoors. I fully understand that I am never going to get some people out on the side of a rock and go rock climbing.
Sure.
I have people walk by my booth when I set a table up, and they see the pictures of the ropes and the rocks, and they say, "Nope, see you later,"
Right.
or whatever. But what we want to do is we want to find whatever it is. We want to find your jam. So if your jam isn't rock climbing, well, maybe it's hiking. You don't have to do something. Maybe you don't have the physical capability to
Sure.
go rock
And
climbing.
that very well could be, right?
Absolutely. So, hey, but we have a more accessible walk. We have a more accessible hike that's accessible to everybody. Even wheelchair accessible. And that's one thing that we're trying to do is be accessible to all veterans and disabilities. Not just the ones that suffer from PTSD or TB, not the ones that suffer from what I do,
Right.
As well. But yeah, we're doing anything from, well, gosh, we've already run programs from hiking, rock climbing, caving, skydiving, snowmobiling, and then really the sky is the limit too. Well, let me rephrase that.
Well, specifically for skydiving.
Yes.
Right.
Insurance is the limit. They will,
I'm sure the insurance on that is, especially skydiving, is probably not the cheapest.
we contracted that one out.
Yeah.
We'll never run our own skydiving organization, but yeah, they won't necessarily take the fun out of everything, but they sure will put a price on it.
As in anything, right?
Absolutely.
So, how do you recruit volunteers to help you? So, I guess a better question is: are your volunteers that come and work with you, are they also veterans, or do you kind of recruit anybody to come volunteer with you that would be open to it?
Well, when it comes to the outdoor side of it, one of the things that we're doing as an outdoor company is, all of our guides, they're outdoor professionals as well. They're
Okay.
either wilderness first responders, they work in the industry. They're not all necessarily veterans. Actually, our director of outdoor operations, he's not a veteran, but he's a huge supporter of veterans.
Okay.
One of the things about our organization too is we like to include the families with everything, because our depression is absolutely contagious. And, I may have caused a divorce or two in my day as well. Just going through PTSD and everything that I put my family through. And there's very little resources out there. So we want to be a resource to the family members. We want them to have a place to be able to build these family bonds and everything with their veteran, with their family member as well.
You guys are creating a community. Is how I took it the other night.
1,000,000%.
Attending your event. And it's a community of veterans, but also a community of volunteers that want to help veterans. And it actually, I get a little emotional talking about it, because it is one of the best things that I've seen. And, the community piece is gigantic, because it brings people together. And as it brings people together, you can kind of fight those demons and fight whatever you're dealing with people that are right there with you, that understand what you're going through.
That's it right there. That's so it right there. Because, getting out of the military is just like getting out of high school. How many friends are you still in close contact with that you graduated with?
None.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Or
Right.
very few.
Very few.
Getting out of the military is the same way.
Right.
And, PTSD doesn't hit you the day that you get out, or or anything. And so
Probably hit you at the moment you least expect it to.
that's it right there. It hits you when you're down the most. It hits you, it hits you when life is hitting you the hardest.
Right.
And, it also hits you when everybody is, when your brothers and sisters are no longer around. Not only that, a lot of times it comes out in frustration, it comes out in anger, and that also pushes everybody else that loves you in your life away from you. It's scary. It's incredibly scary. And, that's one of the reasons that me personally, I mean, yes, I guess I'm grateful that, there's a 988 number for people to call when they're having a mental health breakdown. But if they're calling a 988 number when they're about to commit suicide, they're already up here. They're literally already up here.
They're up at a 10.
Exactly. It's like trying to put a forest fire out when it's at 500,000 acres. It's like, well, why don't you try to put it out when it's at 20 acres? Why don't you try to put it out when you see the smoke coming up?
Right.
And so that's what we're doing as an organization, is we're trying to get veterans out with other veterans, get veterans out with the community, get veterans out with people who care, who love them. One of the things that I found when I had my mental health episode, when I went to Panama and I started having flashbacks, the first thing I did when I got back to the States is I went to the VA. Well, I went to the emergency room. It was like 9:00 at night. Well, they gave me enough medication to get me through about 3 days. Didn't really do anything for me, and then said, go see your primary care doctor. Well, I didn't have a primary care doctor. I had never seen the VA before. And so they told me to go see mental health. So I went to go see mental health. Well, I had never been rated for PTSD before. I had never gone in and filed a claim for PTSD because number one, I didn't know that I had a problem. I didn't know that I had an issue.
Sure.
And then, and so since I did not have a claim in, they wouldn't help me. They wouldn't see me.
That is so infuriating.
It took me 8 months to walk through the door of mental health at the VA, the Veterans Administration. And all the time, I'm having active flashbacks. Luckily, I had a few incredibly close, good friends in my life that, were right there for me and kept me from suck starting my 9mm, because I understand why veterans commit suicide. It's because they can't get it to stop and they don't have anybody to go to. And
sorry to interrupt you, but it also could be, and I kind of got this from the other night. You're reluctant to tell people that that didn't serve for the fear that they're not going to understand. They're simply not going to understand what you're going through.
Absolutely. And not only that, there's a stigma on PTSD too, that
and there should not be.
There shouldn't. But just kind of is what it is. There's a whole lot of things in life that there shouldn't be, but there is.
Sure.
And, as soon as somebody knows that you're having a mental health emergency, they freak out. They think that you're going to shoot the high school up. Actually, when I was in Panama, I started realizing that I didn't know at the time. When I was in Panama, I started feeling fear that the only time I had ever felt that kind of fear in my life was when I was in Iraq, when somebody was trying to kill me, when literally we were, when somebody was trying to kill me. And I was able to put 2 and 2 together in Panama and realized that I thought that, hey, these may be flashbacks, because the only time I've ever felt that kind of fear was over in Iraq. And so, like I said, we were there for a wedding. We were staying in a house that, looked like it could have been one of Pablo Escobar's mansions. It had a swimming pool in the living room. It was amazing. We were staying there with like 14 different people. And none of these people were military. They were all the bros and stuff that you see downtown. Sure. And everything. And so, but they were the only group of friends that I had down there. And so when they were all partying inside, I was outside walking the perimeter of the fence line, making sure that, patrolling the perimeter.
Everything's secure.
Exactly. Well, just thinking that I had a team around me and, coming from the military, having your brothers and sisters around who not only know everything about you, are there for you no matter what. I recognized that I thought that I was having flashbacks, and I told the group of 14, 15 people that were in Panama with us, I said, hey guys, like I'm really going through something right now. I don't know exactly what's going on, but I think that I'm having flashbacks. And what they did is, number one, they started like freaking out immediately just because it was that stigma of PTSD and whatever. They made me call the suicide prevention hotline, even though I wasn't suicidal. The suicide prevention hotline was absolutely worthless. Honestly, it made me want to commit suicide more than anything because it was like the guy on, and I can only speak from my experience. I can't speak for anybody else's experience. I can only speak for mine. And I'm glad that they are a resource and they are out there for people in need. But the guy that I had on the other end of the phone, it was like he had never dealt with anything like this before. It was like, oh my God, I've got a live one. I've got, somebody who's actually, going through a mental health emergency. And, he made things worse. He made things just so much worse. And so then when I got off the phone with the suicide prevention hotline, I'd stepped out on the balcony to do that. The 14 or 15 people that I had just got done telling people, one of them happened to be a nurse as well that works here in the Denver area. They packed their bags and snuck out the back and left me alone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of rude.
The girl my girlfriend at the time was the only one that stayed there with me. And, she's a big reason I didn't commit suicide down there.
Wow. That's unfortunate. Now, how do you, aside from doing your fundraising events and that sort of thing, obviously it takes money to run these programs. How are you attracting veterans to join your program, to go through the adventures and things like that?
However we can.
Okay.
Of course, building a nonprofit from a dream from the ground up, it starts small. It starts with your friends and buddies around you or whatever.
People you know.
But then now we're just finally starting to get a following on social media. We're going to events out at the VA and we're showing veterans, hey, one of the things that the VA is finally starting to realize is they can't do it all. And so community care has become a big thing. And so they're reaching out to organizations like mine saying, hey, will you come to this veterans fair to show other veterans that there's other places out there in the community?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So are those kind of like trade shows almost?
Almost, yeah.
Kind of like a job fair, so to speak, but not a job fair, but something like that.
Same thing. Yeah, same thing. Yep. Just for veteran resources.
Okay.
We're working with places like the Jefferson Center to attract more veterans. And not only that, to refer veterans to as well, too.
Yeah, because you might get a veteran that comes to see you and you're like, hey, you might need to go see somebody else before you come here, type of thing, right?
Absolutely. They're always going to be welcome in our program.
Sure.
and everything.
I didn't mean to say that you wouldn't see them, but it's like, hey, aside from this, you should go over here to...
Absolutely. Because, hey, we can only do so much. And, just reality is I can't save the world. We can't solve every problem or anything like that. And, this whole thing, it's a team effort, and that's one of the things about our organization is getting veterans to the right resources. I may not be the right resource for them, but I may have another resource that is, right up their alley for them.
Right.
That, that is their jam. That is what gets them to tick every morning.
Cool.
A lot of times the VA will give these veterans 100% disability, but then say, you can't work anymore. Well, now all of a sudden you just took their, you
don't have a purpose.
No, you don't have a purpose anymore. And so that's what we're trying to give them now. As a small organization, we're running a trip a month or whatever. We're trying to build this up. We're trying to make this as big as we can so that we can offer more programs, so that we can give veterans something to look forward to, so that next week, you've got your buddies to hang out with. You've got a place to go. You've got a support group around you. One of the cool things that really happened happened to me yesterday, and it was really cool kind of going full circle, is I was invited by Jefferson County Veterans Court to come attend Veterans Court yesterday.
Oh, cool.
And, after going through the court system with my legal problems with the DUI and everything like that, and, they're showing veterans that there's an alternative to the court system than getting caught up in it. And it was super cool being able to go back. I'm on November 30th. I'm going back in 2 weeks to present my organization in front of the magistrate and also become a mentor to other veterans who I was in their shoes almost 6 years ago, and to show them, hey, if you go out and do the right thing, just have that integrity that the military taught us,
Sure.
You don't necessarily need to have these substances to cope. Like, there's other things out there to do.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's another way that we're getting veterans into our program, is we're mentoring veterans in Veterans Court to show them that, hey, man, it ain't about how hard you fell, but it is about how you get back up.
Sure.
You can sit there and you can sit there and feel sorry about yourself and feel down, be down and,
Wallow.
Thank you.
No, you're totally fine.
But yeah, wallow in your sorrows or whatever, or you can get back up and fight another day.
Yeah.
That fake it till you make it slogan that you always hear or whatever, it's complete BS. Face it till you make it.
I love that.
Yeah, man.
Face it till you make it.
Face it till you make it.
So out of the 51 minutes we've been talking, that right there, that's good. I mean, that face it till you make it rather than fake it till you make it, right? Like you kind of just have to face the demons that you're dealing with and say, hey, they're either going to overtake me or I'm going to overtake them.
That's it right there. Just like when we were fighting the enemy over in Iraq, you were either going to overtake them or let them overtake you. And you can't let your interpersonal demons overtake you. You've got to stand up to them. You've got to fight. You're gonna get knocked down. You're gonna get beat up. You're gonna fail, but it's about how you get back up the next day. It's about how you get back up and fight another fight. And you just have to keep doing that, and it will get easier. You may lose the battle for a day, but you get back up and fight another fight so you can win that war.
Right. So what we kind of briefly touched on it. What type of adventures you guys go on? So, in the video, there was skydiving, rock climbing, hiking, like kind of talk about some of the other trips and adventures you have taken these veterans on.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, just like you said, we've done a hiking series, we've done caving, snowmobiling, we've done survival classes.
Survival classes are awesome.
Absolutely. And it's all primitive survival, in case
y'all could teach that, that, right?
Absolutely. We do teach that.
Yeah. Even the veterans going through your program were like, yeah, I could teach this because you have to know it when you're serving.
Absolutely. And one of the things that the military teaches you to is you have to have every last bit of gear with you. And so where we fail as veterans is when we don't have every last bit of gear, when you don't have your vehicle anymore and all you have is a metal match, a ferro rod or something to start a fire with.
Yeah.
So yeah, we teach it completely primitive.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
I actually want to come to that.
Please. Yeah. I'll let you know when the next one is.
Absolutely. I'd love to
be doing another one here coming up very soon.
But those are all skills aside from getting out in nature. Like those are skills that I think everybody should have and understand.
Well, and you don't have to have any experience to come out on any of our trips. That's one of the things that if you come out with us, we're giving you a professional. We are professionals. You're getting you're learning how to recreate properly and safely in the wilderness from outdoor guides, from outdoor professionals in the field. And we teach outdoor ethics as well, so that you're learning how to recreate properly and safely in the wilderness. Mm-hmm. And you're learning a new skill while you're doing it.
That's awesome.
By next year, what we're trying to do is we're running a bunch of individual day programs right now because we're small and we're getting going. What we're going to do is we're going to turn these into programs. So instead of a 1-day rock climbing program, we're going to have a 6 to 8 week rock climbing program where on day 1 we start you out at an indoor climbing gym and you learn about
Your gear.
how to tie in, proper climbing techniques. And then we work you up progressively outside and bring you out to crags and actually get you rock climbing. And then at the end of it, we're going to work with sponsors so that we can gift veterans and their family members gear free of charge to them, so that not only did they just learn a new skill in the outdoors, they just met a bunch of friends who also like to recreate in the outdoors. They were able to do it with the family members so that they can continue doing it without us. And then they've got a bunch of gear so that they've got everything to go out and do it properly and safely in the wilderness.
Well, then with that, they just kind of inherited a hobby almost.
That's it right there.
Right.
That's it. They inherited
to keep their mind off whatever else and focus on doing something more productive and more fulfilling.
Absolutely. Well, and when you're out in the wilderness, when you're out recreating, there's all kinds of wonderful things that's going on inside your brain anyways. Your brain is releasing all kinds of endorphins and oxytocin and all kinds of wonderful things that make you happy. Not only that, studies are finding that it's not material possessions that make you happy, it's experiences that make you happy.
And accomplishments.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And accomplishments. Heck yeah. And if you can go out and you can climb this wall, well, hell, then you can definitely go out and deal with the traffic jam that you're sitting in all morning. Or
it's got you pissed off.
Absolutely.
Road raging.
Absolutely. And, it gives veterans and their family members another reason to wake up and to strive to do something tomorrow. It builds bonds with family. Not only I find with my own kids, they tell everybody when you have them and they're babies, well, watch out. They grow up like that. And gosh, I've got a 15-year-old daughter who's a sophomore in high school and talking back and everything like that. And, you literally only have a certain amount of time to create memories with your family.
Sure.
And, just with the cost of everything right now, just everything being so expensive and cost of living and just everything, the first thing that people stop doing is taking care of themselves, doing things for them,
Right.
going out and recreating. And so we just want to be a place where veterans can go and, all of our programs are free of charge to veterans. That's my job, to go out behind the scenes and raise money so that we can go ahead and fund these programs because they are not free.
Certainly not free at all. Now, where can people, how first and foremost, how can people help you? Obviously, raising money and donating and things like that, but kind of be specific how people can help you. And more so, where can people find you to then help you?
Absolutely. So really, honestly, donations is the best thing that can help us right now. We're small. We really need to start bringing in actual funds to this organization. And, the more we bring in, the more veterans that we can help. Nobody on our staff is being paid. Everything is going directly to our programming and everything like that. And even something as simple as a $25 monthly donation, something that you don't even recognize is coming out of your paycheck.
Right.
If we get 50 of those, it starts turning into being able to generate some revenue so that we can continue on with these trips.
Sure.
You can find us at our website, www.vetxtherapy.org. You can also find us on our Colorado Gives page, Veterans Exploration Therapy, and any donation, small or large, really helps the organization.
And now you mentioned earlier, you guys are on social media as well.
Absolutely.
We're on Facebook, Instagram, what are you on?
Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
We're looking to expand a little bit more, but our username is VetX, the letter X therapy, and VetX therapy.
So VETX therapy.
Yes, sir.
So it's at VetX therapy.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So for everybody out there listening, do me a favor, support this guy, support Deke, support the mission he's doing. The reality of it is, and when he has a fundraising event, I recommend everybody go to it. So I went to the first one this past Monday. And when you hear the veterans talk about how this program has impacted them, if you're not moved by that, I don't know what will move you, to be totally honest with you. And it takes all of us. It takes a village, so to speak, right? To help you achieve your mission, to help you help other people, to live better, to live healthier, to live a more fulfilled life. And I think that, there's plenty of us out here that have never served, me included, that really have a passion to try to figure out, okay, well, how can I give back? Well, we just told you how to give back, right? And I've got some ideas I want to talk to you offline about based on just this conversation. But for anybody out there, please follow Deke and his organization on social media. I'm assuming when you have your fundraising events, those are all going to be listed on social media as well.
Absolutely. All of our events are listed on social media, whether it be fundraising or just our regular veteran events.
Great. And then, you guys, are you personally on any social media to where people can follow you personally?
Facebook and Instagram.
And what's your handle on there? Is it just your name?
First and last name, Deke Letson, DekeLetson.
Okay. Some people have fancy names like handles, so I didn't know.
Nope. I am not one of those people. I got to stick with my name. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
Good deal. And then, everybody listening, I got to tell you, this is probably one of my most favorite episodes that I've done, in all honesty, man, because this just, it really rings true to me for what you're doing. And that's why I wanted to have you on. So do me a favor, everybody listening, please share the shit out of this episode. Please share it with a family member. Please share it with a friend that, you might think either they could join Deke in his program or somebody that that you can connect him with that can help him build up his influence with the community around town, whether that be monetarily, visibility, whatever that is.
Absolutely.
And, with that, as we ask every episode, aside from sharing it, please rate this podcast on whatever platform you're listening on, whether that be Spotify, Google, Apple, whatever that looks like. And then we recorded this, so this will also be on YouTube. This will be the second one I've done on YouTube. This will be episode 169.
Oh, wow.
And this only the second one on YouTube. So kind of fresh there.
Heck yeah.
But hey, at least if you watch it on YouTube, you'll know the man behind the mission. You can see the man behind the mission. And that's why I wanted to get this one on video, because I just think what you're doing is so important. One statistic before we let off, and I don't know this number. The lady on Monday night spoke about it. How many veterans commit suicide on a daily basis? She had that statistic, but it was a staggering statistic.
Oh, gosh. It was one every 65 to 85 minutes. It was 8,030 a month. Mm-hmm. And over 125,000 veterans have committed suicide since 2001.
Okay. So when we look at those numbers and you compare those numbers to the actual casualties in combat, far less casualties in combat than veteran suicide. And with that, that's why this is so important for everybody to get involved with, for everybody to support, because for every time you make a donation, you support either by volunteering or whatever you can do to help out your organization or any other organization like yours, you really are saving a life and have an opportunity to affect change in your community.
Absolutely. You're literally, we all sit there and ask ourselves, how can we make things better in the community? Well, it's getting involved with the leaders that are in your community, right, that are getting their hands dirty, that are doing the dirty work, that are doing the hard work, mm-hmm, and everything. And we ask that you please get involved with our organization in any way, shape, or form, however you can. We need your support. We want to help as many veterans and their family members as we possibly can. And we want to put the biggest dent in the veteran suicide rate that we possibly can. Absolutely. And if this little podcast can do anything to help that, I'm all for it. Well, thank you so much for having us in the first place to get our name out there. Man, Deke, I appreciate you coming in, man. So with that, everybody, share the shit out of this episode.
please follow Deke and his organization. And then with that, everybody, thanks for listening and be defiant. See ya.